Welcome back to Retail Therapy, an offshoot podcast on the Sunday Scaries feed. My name's Will DeFries. Sitting next to me, my co-host, Barrett Dudley. Barrett, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going pretty well. I'm fresh off a nice bowl of summer corn soup.
Wow.
And I was having lunch with you and Dave and Dylan recently, and it sounded like you and Dave might be in agreement. You and Dave and Bill Simmons that soup is the perfect food. So
I'll never turn down a nice soup.
yeah, I can get on board with that. And I think it's just a summer of soup for me.
Really?
This I did heat this soup up, but you can go cold on this soup if you want to. It's that type of recipe. And I don't know, I foresee some gazpachos in my future,
That's legit.
So I don't, I'm feeling good.
I've never shied away from eating some cold leftover soup out of the refrigerator. I don't know what that says about me, but I think soup can be enjoyed in several different forms, from just being cold to being lukewarm to being just straight up hot.
Many different temperatures are well suited for soup.
I mean, I like a good cold soup, a nice vichyssoise every once in a while.
Mm.
That'll do it big for me.
Wow, I don't even know what that is. So
I couldn't really tell you.
I'm adding it to the list.
My dad makes it every summer, and it's a nice cold soup for the hot weather.
Okay,
and
see, I need more information like this, because this is, again, like I said, the summer of soup for me, I think.
I will always do a nice little drive-by by the soup counter at Central Market when I'm doing my grocery shopping, and it's not even to have soup immediately for lunch right after. It's like, are there any good soup Johns here that I can just toss in the fridge and eat at a later date? It's just nice to have on hand.
Yeah.
It was also something I got very into during the pandemic because, I didn't want to go to the grocery store all the time. So I was just stacking soup containers.
Lots of soup. And if you cook soup, most soup recipes make just lots of servings, which like you're saying, that's the thing about soup. You just want to have it available.
Oh, you can make a chili and you can keep that chili going for months if you want to. You can freeze part of it.
Yeah.
You can keep it in your fridge. I mean, where do we stand on soup and low bowls? It's kind of an uncharted territory.
See, you can now we're talking. Now we're getting into the retail therapy nitty gritty. When I picture gazpacho, I picture it in a lower bowl.
Okay,
Uh-huh. I feel like if you sit down to a fancy lunch and you order a gazpacho, it's coming in a wide lower bowl than a French onion soup would.
I don't have any commandments set out right now for how to eat soup out of low bowls, but I feel like the chunkier the soup is, the more you want to go with a low bowl.
Okay.
If you're having a soup with a bunch of fresh seafood in it, you kind of want those chunks of seafood to be sticking out the top of it.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
At my wedding, somebody ordered tableside lobster bisque, and it's something I'd never seen done before. And they brought over what could be considered a low bowl, with a bunch of lobster sitting in the middle of the low bowl, and then they brought the broth or the cream, whatever you would call it, to the table, and they did a nice long pour up over the lobster and then exited the situation. It was very, very bottle service-esque.
They didn't bust out an emulsion blender on you, did they?
No, they did not.
Okay.
They did not. It was something that I'd never experienced before, and it's something that's definitely stuck out in my memory ever since. If you guys are unfamiliar with retail therapy, we talk about things just like this: grocery store runs, soup out of low bowls. Maybe we recently had the author of the luxury night aesthetic article from our last episode of Retail Therapy reach out, and she was listening to the podcast.
There we go.
She enjoyed it. I've never had somebody that wrote an article reach out about us talking about anything, and so my heart did stop for a moment. But it looks like we're in good standing.
I feel really good about that. Yeah.
Because understandably so. I just got a little scared. But yeah, we've been having fun. I think this is episode 6 of Retail Therapy thus far, and I think we're hitting our stride.
Man, okay.
If you want to send us any questions, any topics, anything, you can DM either of us on Instagram. Is it just at Barrett Dudley?
Yeah, that's right.
You can hit me up at Will DeFries, or you can send a message to the Sunday Scaries account at sunday.scaries, which might be shadow banned, might not be shadow banned, but you can just go to my profile and click the little thing in the description, because otherwise you might not be able to find it without going to Google.
Yeah, I have noticed this. I'm not sure what's up.
I mean, I kind of want to fight somebody over it, but I don't know who to fight yet.
You're too cutting edge for Instagram.
Yeah, I guess posting generic millennial chuggy memes is something that Instagram shines down upon. So we'll get it sorted out. If anyone out there from Instagram wants to just expedite the process.
You think that's what it is? You've been placed in the too chuggy category?
Yeah, it's just too chuggy. They're like, yeah, this guy just takes paparazzi photos and puts captions on them.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't special content. Get him out of here. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Oh, and if you do want to watch any of these episodes, you can watch at youtube.com/washedmedia. We've been putting every episode up on the feed. We end up always talking about a lot of products, a lot of different stuff on here. And sometimes it helps just to have a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about by seeing it on a screen. You can also check out the Substack, willdefreeze.substack.com, where I've been posting kind of listener companion guides with everything, whether it's links to our wish list items, whether it's passages from the articles we've discussed, or whether it's just some product photos. Head over to willdefreeze.substack.com, sign up, and you will get some regular emails in your inbox with stuff just like this. But without further ado, I think it's time we get on a wave.
Oh, yeah. Let's get on one.
Are we calling this Auntwave or Auntwave?
So, I mean, that's a whole other podcast topic, Will. You know, the proper way or which way or what the regional way to say it is. I was calling this Auntwave because I say that's how I pronounce the word for your parents' sister.
Yes.
Right? I would call that my aunt, not my aunt.
See, like, for me, it just depends. Like, I can't call her Aunt Viv. It's Aunt Viv. But I don't call any of my aunts.
Why? Because are you making a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I am.
Joke?
I am. Okay. Well, that's the only like aunt that I know is Aunt Viv.
So he says Aunt Viv on that show?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe it switched when they switched Aunt Viv out.
It might have. That was the subtle differentiator. Well,
Barrett brought to my attention this morning that Auntwave is taking over everything, apparently.
That's apparently the newest wave. And yeah, I've got some thoughts just about the general thing that's happening right now. And I don't mean specifically with Auntwave, but like I picked this up from a fashion newsletter called Blackbird Spyplane. And look, I'm a reader, I'm a subscriber of this thing, but I kind of can't stand the voice that it's written in because it reminds me too much of the Chubbies emails.
Okay, that makes sense.
Do you remember when Chubbies like literally revolutionized email marketing?
Oh, they revolutionized like
because of their like how specific their voice was and how like every email you got would have like a different, subject line, and it was super conversational, and it was bits and early memes and like just like very, very casual typing and speaking and in this way of writing, and it eventually like burned out because you can only read that stuff so many times.
Yeah, it becomes hard.
So I get the same that's the feeling that is evoked inside of me when I read the Blackbird Spyplane newsletter. It's just like trying a little too hard to have this like very particular voice and way of talking. And so that's one thing that I would just say, like, if you go check this out, be aware. And then the second thing, before we talk about Auntwave, everybody is just like rushing now at this point, I think, to plant the flag and be like, we coined this, we claimed this.
Yeah.
We said it here first. And so that's the vibe that I get from, as we begin to talk about what this is. I just feel like everybody is just out there running around trying to like coin the new terms for these aesthetics so that they can claim that they coined the term for the aesthetic.
Well, it's kind of bumming me out because we've talked about aesthetics on here. I've talked about them on just the regular Sunday Scaries podcast. And now I'm realizing that like I need to come up with the perfect Sunday Scaries aesthetic, but it can't just be like the Sunday aesthetic. It's got to have like a cool name that makes people think like, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm kind of bummed that we don't have our own aesthetic that we're trying to like,
pump out to the world. To push. Yeah. 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 We need more of an agenda. We got to push. We
do need an agenda. That's a good call.
we got to push our own narrative.
Maybe our Q2 goal is to figure out our agenda that we want to push on people. I think our agenda right now is just making people spend money.
That is definitely, that's a top 3 agenda. Line item on our agenda at the moment. Yeah.
From our last episode, we tried to convince certain listeners to buy a Chanel flat bag.
That's
and
right.
I read a DM from one of our listeners, and she did respond to me, and she let me know that she will be doing it sooner than later. We have convinced her, and she was very excited. So I think a nice Chanel flat bag is in her future.
It's in somebody's future. I love it. Okay. All right. Why don't you help me out here and just let's get into what this Auntwave thing is.
Let me read this passage that I've taken out from the email and who is it from?
It's the Blackbird Spyplane newsletter.
Okay. And they said, Auntwave is an unidealized relative of cottagecore. I think we've mentioned cottagecore on this podcast before. Yeah. It derives from the same wellspring of traditionally domestic and decorative arts, baking, knitting, gardening, crafting that so many of us got in touch with over the past around 2 years that it became a COVID cliche. The kinds of slow-moving, cribbo-based hobbies and pursuits that lockdown helped many of us reappreciate. But, crucially, the energy of Auntwave John is weirder, bordering on grotesque, than a picturesque loaf of Instagram bread or a cozy oatmeal-colored hand-knit pullover, which feels like a targeted attack. It is always oatmeal season. There's something that feels more unique and uniquely daring about an Auntwave John. It's a little noisier, a little riskier, a little loopier, and possibly a little unhinged, and at odds with the soft textures and quiet lines of the nesting magazine Huga Fetish. There's so much going on in these 2 paragraphs of everything.
Yes. So when I started reading about this Auntwave, I was getting a couple of vibes. One, and he connects it to a lot of the things like gardening and crafting that you definitely can see in some of this stuff. He also brings up his own aunt, kind of the, where he derives this moniker from, who is a glass staining artist. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of his original reference point for what Auntwave is. But it reminds me a lot of it's very handcrafted. So I'm obviously thinking about Bodhi because I feel like that is the brand that essentially led this charge starting about 3.5 years ago. And it has just trickled down from there as we have gotten into vintage and cottagecore and now Auntwave. But the other thing is it feels really he talks about how it's kookier and zanier, mm-hmm. and that you pull in your weird ant vibes from that. And so I get a lot of kind of Santa Fe Southwestern vibes.
The Santa Fe, I think it was called, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, and I don't even know what the first letter is of this word. I think it was Cocapelli. Do you remember these?
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, everyone wanted a shirt with Cocapellis on it. It was or a necklace that had, it was why are we all obsessed with Cocapellis right now?
Doesn't Gramici use a Cocapelli sort of thing in the logo?
I think almost exact.
Yeah.
And I've never really understood why that was something that we all got super into. And I think we were probably all of 8 years old at the time, but it was no, I need a Cocapelli.
But no, I'm really glad that you brought this up because 90s is obviously another piece of culture that's kind of trending through all of these. It's kind of like a through line for a lot of these aesthetics. And Gramici and the Cocapellis. And so now I'm thinking what fits right in here is kind of the Yaga stuff.
Yep.
There was a shop in the mall that other 35-year-olds might remember called Buyaka.
I don't remember Buyaka.
That sold this type of stuff that sold all the Yaga and kind of Rasta feeling stuff that had a lot of these same kind of saturated color fades and just kind of weird artsy kooky graphics.
Now I want to be on Grailed looking for Yaga gear from the 90s. This is a dangerous game to play.
Yeah. But Will, do you have an aunt in your life that you think could hook you up with some Auntwave type stuff?
I'm trying to think. I don't think that any of my current aunts could, but I have some very specific memories from my childhood of certain mothers of my friends who definitely have this vibe and this more eclectic thing. I almost associate this entire aesthetic to something close to if Rocko's Modern Life was an actual live instead of actually being a cartoon. I'm just thinking of it's just such an eclectic, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just your kitschy aunt's house.
Totally.
She wears funny glasses. She doesn't replace her glasses with a normal pair of glasses. She gets the zany glasses that are thick rimmed and wild, and then she goes home and does one of her weird hobbies.
Totally. Yeah. There's some just to pull some more blurbs here. The boundaries are porous. Erin is a proud actual aunt who likes to craft colorful, funky shit in her spare time, which helped this idea germinate. But an Auntwave John maker doesn't need to be a literal ant. Their work will, however, contain such stereotypically ant-like characteristics as zany flair and kooky swag. It will strike a compromise between domestic utility and pure whim-chasing decorativeness, but tilt it definitely toward the latter. And what's crazy is as we're talking about this, I had an aunt who was kind of not I think she might have been a great aunt. She was a relative that we called an aunt, and she lived in not Sedona, Arizona, which gets shouted out in this in this email, but in Tucson, Arizona. And like, she made art. She just made art in the middle of the desert, and now I'm gonna have to go home to Houston and like start digging around in crates to find some of this stuff. But don't you have are you friends with or you follow like a ceramic maker, like a coffee mug thing that you've been on?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a couple that I like to follow that kind of stuff.
Maybe fits in here.
There's two that there's one that Sally's obsessed with, and I post their mugs all the time, and I've given the information to any follower who's reached out about it, and it's called Coco Chispa.
Okay.
And it's kind of like cool designs on mugs. They're really hard to get. Like it's almost like a sneakers drop when she does it. You just know that if you're not on the website within 2 minutes of her sending the email, that you're probably not going to get some of these mugs. And then another person is someone that I actually grew up with. Her name's Alexandra Cummings, and she has recently been selling more ceramic stuff that's kind of in the more colorful vein. But again, I think her stuff is even harder to get to unless you're subscribed to the email list. It's just difficult. Everyone wants to get on the Auntwave.
Everybody wants to get on the Auntwave. Small Talk Studio is another brand that gets brought up. It's another one that has that is often kind of compared to Bodhi, and I'll pull up a little bit of it here because it's the same type of like, placement art, asymmetric, but that feels very hand done. I think the difference is where Bodhi kind of goes like very like 60s collegiate almost with a lot of their style. It is more colorful and a little bit more saturated and brighter and feels a little more 90s, less 60s.
This is more art teacher, whereas Bodhi is more like your aunt who is like 70 when all your other aunts are like in their 50s. I feel like I'm looking at this $375 Bodhi lumbar pillow, and I'm just like, I mean, I feel like I could have just gotten this from my aunt, and she would from an aunt who would have made it for me for Christmas, and it would have taken her probably an afternoon.
So I'm, when it comes to the pillows and like, the piece that I mentioned here from the article where it's, about this kind of like whim chasing decorativeness.
Yeah.
I was reading that and just the other day, or maybe even earlier this morning, like I came across, a new arrivals email from, it might've been straight from Bodhi, or maybe it was from one of the retailers that sell them, but featured in it was a $800 felt horse. Oh, basically a little stuffed.
It's a musk-cop
decorative animal.
So you purchased it immediately, right?
Like, it just got me thinking, like, who is that aimed at? Like, who is buying the $800 felt horse? And like, on top of that, it's just like my more general question is, do you find yourself like hunting for kind of trinkets like that at all? Even they may not have to be super expensive designer ones, but like it's just not something that I am on the hunt for, really. At least like with a pillow or like the Bodhi notebook we've talked about. These things have function.
Yeah.
Right? You can bust that thing out, get a pen, start writing it. You can plop the pillow down on the couch. Suddenly you're supporting your lumbar, right?
Yep.
Like, but the felt horse, you're just putting it up on a mantle and being like, yeah, that's my felt horse.
I've confirmed that the felt horse is not $800, Barrett. It's only $750 before tax. Okay. So, I mean, after tax, you're going to get over the 8. And next to it on their website is, and don't get me wrong, like I love everything that Bodhi does. I think it's one of the coolest brands out there.
Totally.
Right now.
Yes. I'm not damn. Yeah.
If I could afford it, I would love to have all of it, but I can't, and I don't. And so I'm looking next to the horse on their website. They have a $790 crochet ball. It's essentially a giant hacky sack that looks like a soccer ball made out of yarn. And if someone asked, like, who's the target audience for a Bodhi soccer ball, you'd be like, Will DeFreeze is that audience. But I can't afford a $800 soccer ball for no reason. What am I supposed to do with this? Just look at it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is this, could you put this would this go in a nursery, Will?
Maybe. But then what if I saw my 11-month-old son slobbering all over this $800 soccer ball?
You'd have to put it in like a glass case or something, This Fritz, this is for viewing only.
Yeah.
This is the horse, right?
I mean, yeah, you just don't need that. I don't know what you would do with that. That's just for someone who doesn't know what to do with their money.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah. I don't know. That's my, as much as I like some of the, the kind of design traits of Auntwave. The piece of it I think that I kind of rub up against is this idea of like collecting small things that clutter your house.
I feel like we're going to enter a time, like I feel like minimal design is probably going to be out very, very soon if it's not out already, and people are just going to start cluttering that stuff as much as possible.
But that's what our parents did.
And it scares me because I don't want that.
I don't want that. I don't want that either. But we are no longer. The thing is, we're no longer setting the trends.
No.
Well, we're like we said up top, we are now chuggy.
Yeah.
And if the youth are going to start collecting things again, then I guess we're all going to need a bunch of felt horses in our house.
Did you take up any old person hobbies during the pandemic?
I did a little bit of the banana bread baking.
Okay.
But I was already an occasional baker.
Okay.
And banana bread was already one of like my favorite, go-to loaves / pastries. That's it.
I didn't really acquire any hobbies during and it's like I'm embarrassed at how little I accomplished during that time. I got in better shape. That was great.
Yeah.
But I wish that I would have gotten a life hobby out of this and I just didn't. And it kind of bums me out. I don't know if you're an avid watcher of the Great British Baking Show like I am.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
One thing that always rattles me is when they do a profile on a certain baker on a certain episode, and they start going through that baker's life. So not only are they a world-class baker and they do that just as a side hobby.
Yeah.
But they also have hobbies that just go so far beyond the hobbies that I have, where I'm like, oh man, like if they're going through my hobbies, they'd be like, yeah. And in Will's spare time, he likes to sit on the couch and watch trashy television and window shop online for things that he can't afford.
Yeah. Yeah. That shouts to the bakers, man, especially pre-pandemic. They were going home during the week.
Yeah.
They were going to their jobs, man. And then like practicing 2 different recipes that they had to perfect and then go back out to the countryside and perform on a television show. Like
the old retirees
amazing.
Should have been running through the entire pack of people because they didn't have anything else to do but go home and hone their recipes.
That's right.
Meanwhile, you have these one of my favorite bakers of all time on there was Martha. I think she was like 20 at the time.
Mm-hmm,
and part of the reason I liked her so much because she was constantly blowing my mind at the things that she could make. And Martha Collison, for those who might want to follow her on Instagram, she's just doing very picturesque stuff all the time. But
Martha was great. Yeah.
I'm also a Chetna guy from that season. That season was just the GOAT season for me. Chetna is probably my all-time favorite person on the show. But yeah, I see their hobbies and I just start beating myself up that I'm not doing more in my life.
Yeah, I guess, this is a good exercise. Let's say you did, and we don't have to do it right here on the spot, but I feel like it's good life advice. If you do ever get cast on the Great British Bake Off or some American version of it, you better be ready with what you're going to say your hobbies are. You got to nail some stuff down.
I might just tell them I write in my free time, even though I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you already have like an interest, like a human interest. You're a podcaster.
Yeah, I guess that would serve.
You write a blog. That would be your thing.
I guess that would serve as my hobby. I just want something that's like, oh, and Will like became a world-class fly fisherman in his time off.
Right.
Yeah, he got super into woodworking and made this like bassinet for his child. Like that's just not what I'm doing. Like I'm just going to CB2 and hoping for the best.
Yeah. No felt horses on CB2's website, unfortunately.
That's too bad. That's fine though. My felt horse budget is through the roof right now, so I think I'm just going to spring for the one on here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll get Sally some mittens from here.
Yeah, get me off of this Bodie accessories page, man. This is dangerous.
It's so dangerous. Like I'm about to buy a Scotty pin.
I'm talking shit about a Bodie felt horse, and now now I've got a mesh bucket hat in my bag.
Yeah,
so,
I'm like borderline. Oh, you just made me look up. I have something in my cart. Yep. I got some trousers in the cart that will never get purchased. Oh, and they only have one size left, and they're my size.
Oh man,
I'm not doing it. Yeah. Can't do it. Before we get into our next segment, let's hear from our friends over at 10,000. I've talked about 10,000 before, and if it's Sunday, you can probably bet that I'm putting on some 10,000 clothes just because I like to get out and try to get the blood going a little bit. Whether it's, getting a good brisk walk in, or if I'm trying to get real cardio in and just going full on, exercise bike, there's a good chance then I'm wearing my favorite clothes, which are from 10,000.
Did you have some 10,000 gear on when you were in some type of collapsible kayak? It looked like it was made of. It looks like it was made of paper mache.
Definitely, yeah. Oh yeah, my kayak, yeah, it folds up. Not to brag.
That's what it looked like. I was impressed.
I had heard about 10,000. I heard a lot of people talk about 10,000, and a lot of the people that I heard talk about 10,000 were people who don't wear athleisure. These people are working out in their gear, and 10,000 is the perfect thing to work out in. Highest quality, best fitting, most comfortable training shorts I've ever worn. They've got their interval shorts and their versatile shirt, both of which are some of their best sellers. And I have to say, I absolutely love them. The shirts just make me feel like I want to go do something athletic from the second I put them on. And some of the shorts, I'm a short shorts guy, and their short shorts fit me perfectly. The versatile shirt is a perfect workout shirt, lightweight, breathable, and durable. And in addition to the interval short, they make gear specific to other types of training as well, from running to Olympic lifting to boxing, so you can find a short for all the ways that you train. And the brand believes in being better than yesterday, a stoic dedication to continuous improvement and not overnight success. They've got a team of over 200 athletes that test their gear to ensure the perfect design, fabric, trims, and fit. And best of all, they got free shipping and free returns and a lifetime guarantee. 10,000 is offering our listeners 15% off of your purchase. Just go to 10,000.cc/scaries to get 15% off of your purchase. That's 10,000.cc/scaries for 15% off of your purchase. Okay, Barrett, it's time to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot. It's something that I started actually implementing during the pandemic, and which was wearing, I wouldn't say that I was wearing actual matching sets, but I started getting a lot more monochromatic in my wardrobe. I enjoyed having things that were maybe all black outfits, like I was trying to be Elizabeth Holmes, or Steve Jobs. But then I was also just trying to mix and match other stuff that just kind of looked like it was all similar. And I don't really know why. And while watching the Oscars the other day, I saw that these matching sets have now gone like full mainstream. And you got people like Childish Gambino wearing oversized suits to the Vanity Fair party. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, do I need to start upping my game overall? I've included some photos here from the Oscars Vanity Fair party. The first of which I believe is the outfit from Childish Gambino here.
Yes.
Or Donald Glover. How would you describe what these suits are being called right now? You can't just call them suits because they're not suits.
Yeah, it's tough to say, honestly. Like Donald Glover is, he is man, I'm gonna botch the terminology here. How do the kids say it? He's giving monk.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Did I do it right?
I don't know if you did it right, but I know what you're talking about. Like,
they say it's you're giving, but then you don't. But then like all the these and ands and
you have to omit stuff.
You omit stuff. Yeah,
like
yeah.
One of my favorite influencers from the Bachelor Nation, Kit Keenan.
Yes,
I just enjoy her vibe because she just does rich girl shit all the time.
Yeah, Kit Keenan. Yeah.
But she posted some photos from some mountain place where she was skiing and snowboarding with her friends. They were also eating caviar on a mountaintop, which looked pretty chill. Maybe more on that in a future episode. But she captioned it, "It's giving green screen."
Okay.
Because
so I did do it right, good. Producer Randy?
Producer Randy seems to think that you might have botched it. And then we also had, in a very similar monk fashion, we had Kid Cudi doing a very similar look at the same party.
So Kid Cudi's, I believe, is Louis Vuitton. I'm not sure what Donald Glover's was, but I hear what you're saying. It is tough to call them because they don't resemble any thing that we associate with suits, right? When we say the word suits, we think about, we either think like British, Italian, or American tailoring, and that's and we're thinking of like, from our generation, we kind of came up with all the hashtag menswear stuff, so it was like super slim fits. So all of this really like voluminous kind of funky proportioned looks, like you've got two variations here, right? Like Donald Glover has absolutely no padding in the shoulder whatsoever. It's short sleeved. Cudi went for one that has like very exaggerated shoulder pads, like very structured. A lot of so the drape is totally different, and yet they kind of live in the same world. And it's just it's like they're basically suits that are made. That I'm having a hard time describing it, but they're suits that are kind of antithetical to the idea of what we think about when we think of suits.
I feel like these guys just took everything that I don't know her last name, Maeve, the stylist of the stars for like Hailey
Sure, yeah,
Bieber, stuff like that. I feel like they just took what Hailey Bieber was dressing in from Maeve and were like, all right, we're doing this now.
It is a little bit of that, and it's also I think tons of credit goes to Jerry Lorenzo, the creative director at Fear of God, because he really was like, he partnered with Xenia, and when he put out I believe 7th collection, it was filled with all of this like really loose kind of rakish like tailoring with like these broad shoulders, and sometimes the jackets would be really cropped, and we've got a lot of ties on paint, like belted, in self fabric ties on the waist, or ones that wrap around the coat, and it just feels very like, you're getting some very, I wanted to call these leisure suits in a way, because they look so comfortable and drapey. And to that end, like Jerry will pair these like, extremely lavish looking coats with sweatpants.
Yeah.
And so it's that whole thing of like ultra comfortable, oversized tailoring. And then, you mess with the proportions and the shoulders and the cut and the drape and all that type of stuff. It's not for the normies.
I was going to say, do you ever see this creeping into the mainstream ever? I just don't. This is so above and beyond what I could actually see people that I know showing up in, but I also don't roll with a clientele of people who are really pushing the envelope on this.
Nah, yeah. I mean, like maybe if you hang out with like a bunch of dope artists in New York City, you'll run into this at a gallery opening.
This is what you would wear to your gallery opening.
Right.
If you wear this to somebody else's gallery opening, you're trying to take the spotlight.
Yeah, you're stealing thunder.
We need to get that's our agenda. We need to get invited to more gallery openings.
I agree. I do agree with that.
That just needs to be on our personal list.
Yeah. This is one of the things is, if you don't have this stuff extremely well tailored and really like made to measure, bespoke for you, it's going to be really hard to dial in the fit for just normal bodies.
So that was going to be my next question, because these things are so oversized that I was wondering if the tailoring was less required or more required because of how baggy and how much it falls off of you.
I actually think more required.
That was my fear.
Because
I don't actually have a fear.
If you just, let's say you just order up your sizes from Fear of God and the stuff that looks like this, like you are probably going to look like you just put on a potato sack. You're going to look like David Byrne from Talking Heads and like the gigantic, gray box suit thing.
I'm imagining myself ordering what either of these two are wearing, ordering them to my house, me taking them out of the box and me putting them on and standing in front of my mirror. And I'm just imagining the amount of defeat that I would feel throughout my entire body, just thinking I could not be pulling this off less. It is such a hard look.
It's going to be a disappointing moment for sure. Now, I think what, when we've talked about like suiting trends more broadly on Club Cool, there definitely is it's loosening up.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be so pinched at the waist and slim and tapered and like all the type of stuff that we were going for from basically 2010 to 2019. And so we're getting a little bit more of that kind of like 90s Armani, kind of looser, flowier look. And like, I've been thinking about, I've got a couple of weddings coming up this year, and I hate all of my suits right now. And I'd like to get something new, and I would probably go double breasted.
Oh,
which kind of the brown chocolate number that Kid Cudi has is, if not double breasted, it's a version of that. It's got the kind of like the wrapped look in a way. And then I would go with something that is tailored, that feels good, but it's not hugging me the way that like the suits that I bought last do.
Oh, the suits that I bought last, I'm like currently trying to like count calories so that I can make sure that, I'm not going to not fit in them, but I'm trying to be comfortable in them. And at this point I'm like, oh man, these things are so tailored to me that, because if you go to a place like Suit Supply, they'll tailor it straight to you. And like, it fits very well. And I need to figure it out in the next couple months here as the weather starts to get a little warmer and my summer suits are more in play.
Yeah, I think that the way that the normies like us can kind of get into some of this is so. I actually have a couple of items in my cart from Rag & Bone to talk about matching sets. And it's a moleskin chore coat and a moleskin pair of pants.
Okay.
In the same fabric.
Okay.
And so when we talk about matching sets, like it typically stems off of the athleisure thing, right? Or we think about like an ALD sweatsuit.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
But where I think you can go for guys anyway is like kind of that shirt jacket or some type of more casual look, and then pants that are cut from the same material.
I'm kind of surprised you don't see more pants cut from the same material the more I think about it. I shop, and I've gotten 2 what you would call work shirts from Tailor Stitch, a San Francisco company. And I think that they inadvertently make some pants out of the same materials that they use for their shirts, but I don't think it's an intentional thing where you would buy both trying to, you know, actually get that look going. But I am worried that I don't know why. I think it's just because it's simplistic, it's easy, and it's just takes all thought out of it. I love the idea of matching sets. I think that they have their position in life, and I think that's mainly on Sundays, or mainly when you're like kind of just doing your own thing and not actually wearing them out. Whether or not you agree with that, I don't really care, because it's not some kind of hard stance that I'm taking right now. But something I wanted to put in here is like airport fashion. You know, growing up, my dad used to tell me you had to dress up to go to the airport. I feel like a lot of people our age had parents who were like, no, when I had to travel as a kid, I had to wear a sport coat and things like that. And if my dad saw how like I was dressing for the airport these days, he would just be disgusted with me. I'm wearing like black Lulu joggers, like a black sweater, and I'm just like decking myself out. And then you look at every single influencer or person on Instagram that is posting photos from the airport, they're all wearing these matching sets. And like I put up Molly May from Love Island, who she just posted one the other day. She's doing an overnight work trip, matching set and tan. Hailey Bieber in 2019, which you can see on the screen now too. I mean, she wore pretty much a very similar color to this, and this was pre-pandemic when she wore it, and now Molly May's still doing it now. Are these still going to be relevant, and are people still going to be able to be so lazy that they just wear a matching set to the airport? Or are we working out of that as we get out of the athleisure part of our lives?
No, here's the thing about I mean, you know, just to totally pivot, like air travel sucks ass right now. It's not good. It's basically like you are getting on a bus essentially. And so comfort is key now. It is no longer a luxurious, glamorous experience. And when it is, that means that you are traveling business or first on an international flight, in which case you also want to be comfortable because you're going back 360 degrees.
Correct.
And you're trying to catch some Z's.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So like the idea of like looking sharp as hell on an airplane is just gone forever, because that's just not what domestic travel is like anymore.
The only way that I could see myself doing it is if I have to roll off the plane straight into like a business dinner or something like that. Yes. And breaking news, I don't have a lot of those scenarios pop up.
No, and if you ever have had to do that, it sucks ass, because you feel disgusting when you get off of your, you know, United Economy Plus flight. Like it's you know, so you want to get to the hotel, you want to change out of your clothes and get freshened up. So we've just kind of eliminated the idea that you need to not wear sweatpants on an airplane. Now there are certainly a bunch of other like rules that you should still follow. Like, please, you know, don't be barefoot on the airplane.
Don't take your shoes off.
Don't take your shoes off. You know, don't smell bad. Like make sure you have on deodorant, that type of thing. But beyond that, I think that this type of look with the monochromatic and the sweatsuits and the comfort is definitely here to stay. And I wanted to bring up, I'm trying to see if I can find some photos, but Vogue Runway is putting the kibosh on me because I'm not signed in right now. I was going to bring up, just like in regards to the men's, a brand that has been doing this kind of like loose tailoring matching set thing for many years is Engineered Garments.
Yeah.
They kind of specialize in, like, you know, whether it's like their loiter coats or the names of all these jackets that they continually make are slipping my mind, but they do this whole thing a lot.
Yeah.
They'll cut these lightweight, typically cotton, but in the fall you get some wool and other kind of blends like that. And then they'll do a baggy, loose trouser, cargo pocket sometimes, you know, but always loose, always baggy. And so you get you get the kind of this is where I see it more in the mainstream versus like the tailoring version of it that Donald Glover and Kid Cudi have for Oscars after party.
I'm probably overthinking this, but because it's probably the most popular brand among people our age right now when it comes to just what's dictating everything, and we have talked about them too much all the time, is ALD. And they've recently released their uniform, which they release, I'd say, twice a year. They do a new uniform, I guess spring, summer, and then fall, winter. They do their uniforms.
It's 2 times per season.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
they've done something in their most recent drop, which they have made their logo much, much more prevalent on their uniform stuff, which is something that I don't think that I necessarily want. I think in terms of like uniform stuff, or if I have a matching set, I want like less branding as opposed to more branding. And maybe it's just that these things are doing so well. It's like, no, we need our branding on here.
So you're a uniform 2 guy. That's the difference between the 2 drops. Uniform 1 in the season is always the logoed stuff,
and then the other one's the more tonal one.
The second one either has the tonal logo or no logo.
I'm a little bummed just in general because they have clearly switched the fabric that they had from like 2 or 3 years ago. And 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to splurge a little bit and buy several t-shirts from them all at once so that I could have some like staple stuff that I can wear and not worry about it. And then when I decided to replace a few of those t-shirts, I went on their site and ordered some, and the material is just not what it used to be, unfortunately. And it weirdly, and I obviously I like to wear a lot of black t-shirts.
Yeah.
What bums me out about their new fabric is that it collects things on it much faster than their old fabric does.
It's a lint magnet.
Yes. Yeah. And so sitting down on the couch, especially if you have a dog or a baby, like I do, I've now find myself just being covered in stuff where it used to just fall right off. Right. And it's just killing me.
Yeah. That's tough. When you have a dog, that's always hard. Like I basically like you know, in the evenings, I essentially don't wear black because it will just end up, you know, looking like a dog.
I need to put a lint roller in my like car and just go and just do that once I get in the car. And it's like, all right, I'm out of the hair zone.
That's a good life hack for everybody with the dog. They did, just to your point though, for this most recent Uniform 1 drop, they definitely did kind of, the logo is bolder on these for a variety of reasons. They centered it, which they don't always do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's over on left chest. And then they went with like sometimes it's just white, right? Like white script across the board, which I think they did last fall. This time it's like yellow script on green and the blue script on the white. And so it's definitely more of a pop.
Well, they also did a new fabric for the first time that I've ever seen them do, where it wasn't just a plain color. They actually did a fabric.
The print, right?
Yeah. And I guess it's not a new fabric. It's just a print. This, to steal the phrase from you, this is giving APC Outdoor Voices vibes.
Yeah.
Which I got one of the pullovers from that collaboration at a sample sale for $5, and I've had so many people be like, "Wow, that's a really cool pullover." I'm like, "Well,
is that an olive green one?"
Yeah.
You got that at a sample sale?
Sample sale.
Damn,
I went to the Outdoor Voices sample sale. I was actually standing there, and I looked over, and there was one person standing next to me, not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And it was Ty Haney. And I was just like, "Hey." And she was like, "You getting that jacket?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Cool, it's a good pickup." And I was like, "Yeah. All right, see ya."
Yeah. You messing with Joggy yet? You making a bunch of Joggy orders?
I haven't done any Joggy orders. My NFT game is currently struggling. I haven't gone full yet. So I guess I'm going to need to figure that out sooner than later.
You know, since we're on the topic of matching sets, I also wanted to give, we say matching sets and there's so many different things that you can think about and talk about. Matching 2-piece sets for women, like that are like not casual wear, like something that you know, where it's like the skirt and the top match. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a crop, sometimes it's not. Love that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that in women's wear is the two pieces that make one set as a whole outfit. And I think I'm always a little jealous of it because it's like, it's so easy. Boom. Two pieces, they match, you're done.
That's why I do so much black on black, because I just think it's so easy and I never have to think it through. A few years ago, I bought Sally what could be considered, you know, leisure wear, but I would say it's an upgraded version of some leisure wear. And I got it for, I think, her birthday. And it was essentially matching sweatpants and a matching crew neck sweatshirt in this toned down tan and white tiger print. And at first she didn't really like it. And now she wears it pretty much every single night after she gets out of the shower. And she just loves it. And I'm like, okay, I think I was a little ahead of the trend when I gave this to her, but now this is all panning out perfectly. But like, yeah, with companies like Outdoor Voices and things like that, I get kind of jealous when I see people just being able to toss on like the matching set and call it a day. But I guess I can't get that jealous because I'm still just wearing a black t-shirt and some black.
Yeah, I think
honestly 10,000 shorts.
You've done a good job of kind of figuring it out for yourself, I think, as well. So
don't tell Sally that, as she will. She was cleaning up our closet the other day, and it was pointed out how many black t-shirts, black pairs of pants, or black pairs of shorts that I have. And I don't think it was a compliment. I think it was more of a criticism at that time.
You know who else wore lots and lots of black t-shirts? David Duchovny on the show Californication.
I worry that that's where I got it from. Like, as somebody, we've recently. What's the Bees show?
The what now?
The Bees, Killer Bees. On Showtime?
Yellow Jackets?
Yellow Jackets, not Killer Bees. Yellow Jackets. I was recently telling Sally that we need to start watching that, but we need to get a Showtime account before we do so. And when I was pitching this idea, I gave her the idea. I was like, well, what if we started rewatching Californication? And she was like, no, I don't want to watch that. I hate David Duchovny in it. And I was like, okay, I feel like I see a little bit of David Duchovny in myself certain times. The self-destructive behavior, my want to have a beat up old Porsche 911. Like, I just kind of want to. I think there was a time in my life where I could have made some changes and they would have been changes for the worse, but I could have seen myself just absolutely becoming a scumbag like him.
That's That's a dangerous path that you were on.
Well, he seems to live a pretty entertaining life at the very least. It's time. Let's do some wish list items.
Okay.
I've already dropped mine in, so I'll lead things off.
Thank you.
I have too many pairs of sneakers. I'm willing to admit that. I need to get rid of some. I need to just throw some out. I probably could sell some that I've worn like twice. But one pair of sneakers that I've worn the hell out of in the last year has been some Nike Pegasus Trail 3 Gore-Tex sneakers. I bought some dark green ones right around this time last year. I think I actually got them in the mail the day that my son was born, and I wore them to the hospital. But now they have some new colors out, and I think I have to take the dive and get some of these funky ones. It's like brown with an orange Nike swoosh, some blue and green details, some tan, I guess you'd call it like ribbing in the back. There's something about these shoes where I'm like, okay, I'm going full Gorpcore, and I'm just going to be the colorful guy out there. Maybe these are a little Encore as well.
Color-wise, I definitely think you could put them there. And let me just gas up anybody that is thinking about trail sneakers, whether it's Nike Pegasus Trail or the Hoka Ona is making some dope ones. Obviously, Solomon has been having a moment for the last couple of years. It's not a purchase that you will regret, because one of the reasons that I always loved my Golden Goose sneakers is because I never felt bad about like roughing them up a little bit. And that's just like even more amplified here. So you're like, you get these trail sneakers, and then you absolutely don't feel bad about walking the dog in them, actually going on the trail in them, going to the bar in them. Like there's just, if it's a rainy day, you don't like, oh, I got to baby these ones. I can't wear them. You can basically always wear these, which is why I support this purchase.
I mean, these are Gore-Tex. Like, you can really wear them in the rain and not have to worry about your feet getting soaking wet. They actually do work, which is why I'm like ready to run it back and just get a different color. I've gotten to the point with them even where I have used them as my golf shoes now. I only brought one pair of tennis shoes to Las Vegas when you and I were there recently. I wore my old Pegasus trail runners on the plane. I wore them to golf the next day, and I wore them back on the plane when we left, and they served their purpose the entire time, and I was very thankful for them. They've held up, and I think it's time to replace them with some of these, and they will probably move from my cart to my actual home in the next week.
Man. So, it's tough. You get a new pair of sneakers the same day that your child is born. It's like, man, which one of those was better, right?
I know. It's like, which was a better cop? Like... It was a good mail day. Like, I mean,
a great mail day.
Yeah. What if on the day my son was born, I was like, dude, look at this mail day I just had. This is great.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to follow suit here a little bit, and I'm also going to do sneakers, but I'm doing a pair of women's sneakers because I've been trying to help Laura find a new pair of sneakers to pair. She's got a couple pair of looser jeans now, trying to figure that out.
Navigating that world has been hell.
Yeah. And so Veja is a brand that a lot of people are probably familiar with. They do guys, they do girls. And the original silhouettes that became really popular were like the I think called like the Esplar and the Campo, and they were more in that kind of flat court shoe look, very, very traditional. And I feel that has kind of fallen out a little bit. Looks a little dated in a way, because everybody is going to the chunkier sneakers and the Air Force Ones and the trail shoes, and like everything just has a little bit more heft and weight to it. So I think what I really like right now from Veja, who knows how to pronounce that right?
Someone will know, and someone will reach out.
Thank you.
I've
definitely looked it up before, and it's just one that I can't stick in my mind. I think it's Veja.
After the great Loewe debacle of 2022, I've decided to look up every single brand before I talk about them on any podcast. I'm just so scared.
So right now I like the V10, and you can find a ton of different colors of these. They make them in leather, they make them in suede. They're carried all over the place, from like Madewell and Free People to places like Matches Fashion and Essence. So I have Matches pulled up here. And the colorway that I'm really feeling is the multicolor, and I think that this colorway also has the name like Natural Babe.
Love a good Natural Babe.
Same. But you're getting like you're getting some kind of like dusty, light colored pastel panels here on a very neutral base, and I like that because I think if I was styling you, I would basically tell you to like not worry about matching these to any other color in your wardrobe. Like you just throw these on and go, just like you would a pair of white sneakers, and let the kind of the mishmash work.
Is the dusty color look coming back now? That's I don't want to call it pastel because
it's not pastel. It's like they're kind of, I mean, it is a little bit of pastel, but not like the Eastery. They're not saturated colors.
It's scary though, because I don't want to feel like I'm wearing pastels like it's 2006 and I'm rushing a fraternity. That's what scares me. And I walked into Lulu the other day, and I just walked in because I had some time to kill, and I was right next door, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna walk in here and look. And I saw some shorts that I'd bought last year. I bought them in like navy blue and light blue because they were shorts that I knew I would wear a lot. And all the colors that they had this year were these very washed out, dusty, brighter colors. And I was like, I like these. I don't even know what you would call it. It's a very light lilac color, like this light purple. But then I was like, if I wear these, am I going to look like I'm wearing like light purple chubbies at this point? I don't know if I want to do that right now. People might look at me like I'm being a weirdo.
Yeah, it's tough because I think that prep has certainly trickled into a lot of different facets of fashion and style right now, but I don't know. So far, I feel like it's all been pretty well done to where you don't feel like you're popping two collars on a periwinkle and sunflower polo.
Yeah, maybe if I'm not doing that, I don't need to worry about it nearly as much. It just scares me.
The other thing that I that is kind of that I think we look back on and laugh is like, one, it was so your entire crew would be in varying shades of competing Easter egg colors.
Oh, it was
so like everybody
Easter
had on like
the
salmon colored or Nantucket red shorts, and somebody had on like washed out blue shorts, and then an explosion of colored polos as well, and that was the the bigger issue. And just look at how these are styled here, right? Like it's going to be all solids and neutrals up top, like no other pastels competing here.
I had a pair of like 5-inch inseam, really wide and baggy, but 5-inch inseam, like light green Vineyard Vine shorts that I wore the hell out of, and now I look back at photos of me in them, I'm like, wow. What was I doing? Why were those my go-to shorts in 2007? Like, I understand that was kind of the vibe that people were going for, but now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, Will, what were you doing? And what's replaced that? What
are you doing now that you will hate? There's something.
There's going to be something. Yep. And I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure I'll figure it out soon enough. Well, another one in the books. Again, if you guys want to go see all the stuff from this episode that we've talked about, you can watch on YouTube at youtube.com/washedmedia. Additionally, I will be writing up the companion to this episode on Substack, willdefreeze.substack.com. Barrett, Pump up Club Cool a little bit. You just did a solo episode.
I did do a solo episode. Yeah, it was, it was not something that I love to do. I feel like I carried this one off pretty well.
It's stressful.
So go check it out. I had a bunch of unanswered DMs, which made for a perfect like solo podcast, because I basically just got to sit down and answer my DMs, on a podcast in podcast format. So it worked out really well. Man, topics that were covered included the type of open air sneakers like Merrell Hydromox, Yeezy Foam Runners, Hoka Hoparas, that type of thing. Talked about that trend still happening in 2022. I helped somebody out with a beachy tuxedo shoe.
There you go.
And so we were just, we were having a good time. We got some stuff answered, and it was good sewed. So check it out. Check out the Club Cool podcast wherever you're listening to Retail Therapy.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, everyone else, I think it's time. We'll see you guys, I guess, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I think we might have a special guest in a couple of weeks, so it could be a fun one. Our first ever guest on Retail Therapy.
Looking forward to it.
A little stressful too. See you guys later.